In the name of God, the most benevolent and the most merciful, in honor of the original unconditional moment that all conditional moments have risen from and will return to, in the presence of the system admin of this existential system and the world host to the world room, in a moment where the original power source to the presence of existence is present, humanity speaks itself in individual ways. Hello, everyone. I wanted to give a lecture on this idea of higher resolution souls in a lower resolution world, and is success an archive of different experiences? So two interesting ideas. First, the title is "Success an Archive of Different Experiences" arose to me. This, I mean, I guess earlier today, I looked at life in a way where I asked myself, "What is success?" I already have answers to this. Okay. What do I mean I have answers? We, as members of the human species, in this unknown place we call Earth, as unknown beings that we call ourselves human, okay, success seems to be a conditional expectation. You know, it occurred to me that, wait a minute, if I was born 1,000 years ago, success would mean something else. Therefore, the success in the outer realms is kind of artificial and more for yourself. Do you understand? Success has been based on outcome. Whenever you do something, if I am to give a successful lecture, it in some sense needs to go through a stage of beginning, middle, and end. Okay, if all human beings want to fathom success as in this life, technically it is the verification of its end. Okay, but aside from that, the meaning of success, it has had different meanings. Okay, now I am not somebody who has access to all the information in the world, but interestingly enough, I am present as a moment in the information of the world. I am present where all the information is present. Now, there is an important point here. This lecture is important for me too. I feel I'm stepping to new inner realm territory. Okay. So folks, I'll say it like this. Based on the levels and the depth and the dimensions we see to ourselves, we can fathom probabilities. The nature of reality is that the past is defined, the present is defining. There needs to be defined. We function under an impression like that. To me, I was like, yo man, what is success for the human condition, or for just this position of intelligence, okay? And so let's say it this way, that right now on earth, if we ask who is successful, we base it on the accumulation of their resources and their status. In other words, human beings enter this planet, they exchange journeys for destiny. They exchange a journey for a consequence, for a result. Now it occurred to me, when we wonder about physical success, if I wanted to know what a successful physical being, physical human being is on earth, to me, it is a human being physically that is healthy, that has procreated, satisfied the existential design's purpose, okay? And in some sense, I mean, it's not just to me, it's like how modern culture acknowledges it, okay? Physically successful people, in some sense, they're physically healthy. They are experienced. Let me say it this way. Let me simplify it. All I'm saying is this, okay? We can have an interpretation on what the success for an object is, an objective entity's success. We can have a view of a subjective entity's success, okay? But to me, there's something underlying success which has to do with experience and the quality of that experience. That means, imagine, let's just for the sake of speech, say a human being during a lifetime goes through 100,000 moments of consciousness. I don't know. Let's just bear with me here, okay? Let's say a human being goes through 100,000. Let's say 10,000 moments of consciousness, 100,000 moments of consciousness on Earth, okay? Now, you guys need to answer this for me. Imagine you have 100,000 moments you're gonna live. You live all these 100,000 moments as one moment repeated 100,000 times, or 100,000 different moments. Which one of these beings is successful? Is the being that has repeated, that has looped, that has experienced one moment 100,000 times more successful than a being that has experienced 100,000 different moments? Which one is more successful? It's based on the outcome in the specific context, okay? Isn't it weird that to our past, we have succeeded more physically? Is physically bigger than when they were younger. You have physically succeeded into growing into a larger entity, you know? Here guys, we're gonna start with this. I'm gonna freaking, they're like, you know, when Mr. Within talks are getting serious, when Mr. Within slams the dictionary on the table. We're gonna look at what success means, okay? Success is the accomplishment of an aim or purpose. In another sense, the attainment of fame, wealth, or social status, or a person or thing that achieves desired aims or attains fame, wealth. Okay, so that's both. And success is also the good or bad outcome of an undertaking, where people say the good or ill success of their maritime enterprises. Ultimately, guys, the word success is very similar to the word strategy, but success is the fulfillment of the strategy. You know, there's a saying, you know, that's been etched into my mind ever the first time I heard it, that strategy is how you win the war. Tactics are how you win every battle. Success is like winning the war, okay? If you are successful in a battle, it doesn't mean you are successful in the war. Now, when you look at human beings, they are creatures that interact with one another. They are individuals, okay? And they tend to, human beings tend to filter and manage and organize their intelligence through senses of self. That means the question is so deep of what is success, because on one level, what is it in the outer realms, and who is the success for? Isn't it strange that the success of one person, for example, in a capitalistic system, is the lack of success, is the defeat of another person? Do you know? And for example, I don't want to get into political discussion here, but there's different views on reality, okay? But success tends to be based on the outcome. That means we human beings are like, yo, man, if somebody has a mansion, if somebody has a car collection, if somebody is like known by everybody, like that's a successful human being. But this is where it gets interesting. Aside from just establishing that every person's life, or what success is an accumulation of experiences through a journey fashion. Okay? Now, somebody may look at me and be like, Mr. Within, do you have like a Bugatti, or do you have mansions all over the planet, that you think you can just comment on success? I'll be like, see, success is the outcome. If somebody who doesn't know how to ride a bicycle comes up to me, I who know how to ride a bicycle, I'm more successful than them in that action. Same thing, if somebody doesn't know how to drive a car, I know how to drive a car. It's as if I am successful in gaining access. Success can be also seen as access, but the strange thing about the human experience, is like we're experientially tunneling through different moments of existence. Okay? You're listening to someone who really ran after the concept of in some sense, I realized years later it was meaning, but I wanted to know what is this truth everybody is considering in their life. Okay? And I came to this understanding, and I saw this in a YouTube video, okay? And like, not a YouTube, like a reel, like short Instagram or YouTube reel, okay? It showed a man who he held his daughter in his arm, and his wife was like on his back like a backpack. He was carrying both his daughter and his wife together, and people were like, yo, that's success, okay? Right? And a part of me was like, look at this, man, it's just 8.1 billion random humans, random beings or unknown beings, and based on them getting what they wanted, they think that's success. The reason we think a Bugatti and a mansion is success is because it is culturally justified. There is a cultural psyche. In no way, shape, or form ever think that you're thinking alone. The world is doing a part of your thinking. Okay? The world... Oof. Anyways. My attitude, folks, is simply this. I was conditioned, okay, I was conditioned by Civilization 1.0 to not wonder about what my own thoughts were, to not wonder about what my own emotions were, to in some sense give the power of agency of decision to the outer realms and think that I am less than the world and the world knows better. I'm not telling you to go reinvent the wheel, but I am telling you that sometimes when you do reinvent the wheel, you get to see what was missed when you walk a path again, right? So is success an archive of experiences? If I want to be a successful swordsman, I need to have, strike like trees or something. Not strike trees, like if I right now, if imagine I'm not a swordsman, okay? Okay, or I'm not a blacksmith right now, okay? But if, let's say somebody was like Mr. Within, you need to become a master blacksmith or like a master swordsman, okay? And let's say there was potential, okay? There was potential and aptitude there, okay? If someone tells me I need to become an expert in anything, my understanding through, believe it or not, my inquiry into the traditions of what wisdom really is in life is all about experiences. So, in other words, I would start building weapons every single day, not for the purpose of like, yo man, I just want to build this many weapons. No, for the purpose of enhancing quality. Because to me, success is a higher quality access to reality, and failure is a lower quality access to reality. And to me, very, very directly, I will tell you, the experience of life, one of my eyes, is a bit more lower resolution, which is contrary to what everyone feels, than the life in my outer realms. Even there may be disembodied, like invisible beings in higher planes being like, Mr. Understand how cool and how great manifestation is. You don't understand how fast and quick manifestation is. Do you know? They might, I don't know. But I will tell them, you do not understand. All psychology, doesn't matter if you're a visible or invisible being, is a counter response. Okay, it's a response. That means you think you are you. No, you are responding to everything that is defining you. Okay, and like this whole time, we've been so casually, like, let me tell you this. This is, anything that I feel is too intense for like the people of this time, I bring the burden onto myself. Okay, that means like if I see an advanced civilization and everybody's like, no, Mr. Within, we want to loop in this trash can. Excuse me, I shouldn't say trash. If we want to loop in this, like this ignorant system, unupdating system, listen, on some level, more important than success is authorization of freedom. What success is access to freedom. Okay? That means there are people who don't have a phone right now, who don't have a laptop, and who don't even care to like to want to talk this much about the nature of reality. Do you know what I mean? Success seems to be limited to the self you are. So I'm going to expand the field here, as any field can be expanded like this. You just have to intersect the point with multiple dualities. Seldom is this said. If you want to advance order, okay, it doesn't mean you are like a perfect ordered being advancing in a perfect order. Advancement means that you are exchanging what you are for what you can be. Right now, I'm no one, but I'm exchanging my time because I've noticed a problem that is bigger than all of us. There is something headed for mankind, and people are like, Mr. Within, what is it? Tell us physically, what is it? It's not physical. It's an invisible invasion against the original natural human idea, and it started before we were born. It started the moment human beings prioritized subjects over objects, and they lost their world, their original world. Okay? And in the future, it's going to get even more scarier than this. People are like agentic, like AGI and all of this. There was this thing about like, man, what was the company? Oracle, like sending one email to 30,000 employees and like laying them off as if like, yo guys, thanks for working for us and helping us build the technology that will replace you. One of my younger cousins, who's like a prodigy programmer, do you know, decided to go and become a doctor. Do you know? The dehumanization that is upon the species cannot be noticed if you are looping in civilization 1.0. Okay? The presence of reality is all about understanding that you don't just exist. Nothing just effing exists. Okay, guys? In science, to the secular, to the secular hordes, it's like I'm talking to orcs when I talk to atheists. Honestly, man, it's like talking to a grunt. You know what I mean? Like, but let me say it this way. Nothing has just been existence. The fact that all of you think existence is a type of bizarre insanity when your understanding of the energy that is existence is that it is potential turns to kinetic. The energy cannot be created or destroyed. The only thing missing, there's a reason. I will shout this out. Do you know? I will roar this out till the end of my days. Do you know what I mean? And let me tell you why. Because I have discussed it. There are scientists that people don't know. Do you know? It's like I'm not just, in the inner realms. Sometimes I go and listen to like long hours of like podcasts on physics and science, specifically astronomy, which is my passion. If I become a senior citizen, I'm going to invest in telescopes. You know what I mean? Like, but I am telling you, there is potential energy. Energy can't be created or destroyed. The reason scientists don't want philosophers in the science classroom or in any classroom, okay, is because the philosopher needs to just point out, wait a minute, what if energy is alive? Not what energy leads to. Do you understand? It's like I'm telling you, you think the effect is real, but the effect is simulated. When I give these talks, okay, I feel I am like, how like there's like the music industry, okay, where a lot of famous artists, and they kind of like, sell themselves to the industry standards. Okay, and then you have underground artists. Do you know what I mean? You have like underground communities. You always have potential energy wherever you find kinetic energy. Do you understand? There's potential to existence. All of you have been conditioned, okay? And your brains have been soaked, okay, by this idea that the past only gives meaning to your present. Your past is your life, and you miss out on your future, and you think there's evil people doing it. You've been conditioned to value the past, to treat anything that represents a past pattern more real than all the novelty and the mass unknown we face. So what have human beings been doing on earth? Let me tell you what all of us have been doing. Okay? First of all, in an unknown place, it's an unknown world. Everything else is noise. Okay? It's an unknown world, and you're an unknown being, okay? That means you are pure, unknown potential. That means they're like, Mr. Within, what were you before this life? I'd be like, I was in Olam al-Arva as the potential of a manifest human. Do you know what that means? That means, like, how do I explain it? If energy is alive and energy can't be created or destroyed, that is the archaic revival of the idea of the soul. Okay? Which means the soul is experiencing two states of itself, a potential state and a kinetic state. Okay? It's all about where is everything happening. If you can't ask this question, you cannot figure this place out. Because the way we figure it out is not like, look at the logic. The whole species is like, all right, we're in a tiny pocket of the observable universe. We're this tiny corner of this painting, and the rest is too dark to see because of dark energy, dark matter, whatever. It's just unobservable, too big, right, to index the whole thing. So we're just looking at the corner of a painting, and we're fighting over what the whole painting is. People have been killing each other by looking at the corner of a painting for what the whole painting is. You need to understand that if the ratio of the known to the unknown is less, then all our known strategies to the unknown are inferior. That means if we are specifically beings we are of course conditional beings. Like, to be, when I say the fear of dehumanization, do you know why I say that? Because I see the cyborg era. I am this person who doesn't have a time machine, but for some reason in his inner realms has seen multiple probabilities to everything. To everything I see now. You guys are sitting here, you'd be like, oh man, just a creative person. No. Talk about flying cars. I've legit felt what it means to be inside. You understand? It took me 34 years to understand everybody is under a spell of a simulated spell. You're all, do you understand? There was this picture, okay, of Hermes. I don't know if people know who Hermes is. He's a cool entity. Okay, and Hermes, there's a picture of him. I put it in one of my lectures. You'll see it's this dude with this hat that has wings on it. Okay, and he starts, I don't know if his staff is raised or he's speaking or something, and everybody is entranced. Let me tell you folks what I understood, because for some reason my soul has had the authorization for it. Okay, do you know? Just like in some sense, when somebody is a surgeon, we don't say, okay, everybody can do surgery. Okay? There's something unique I've noticed. In the same way a surgeon can't like go and slam dunk, imagine. Do you know what I mean? It's like its fingers are like not designed for that intensity. Do you know? It's like we are all strategies, okay, of the unknown to bring the whole unknown into conscious jurisdiction. We think we are humans. The greatest clue that I got in this life, people misinterpret the idea of the soul. They think it's like an invisible Casper. They think it's an invisible you. The soul is proof that you are not you. Anyone who believes in the soul, the belief that I have a soul is simulated, more simulated than the soul. Okay, your soul is the presence of intelligence. I don't know how to say it. It's like it's like in an invisible intelligent field, something manifested, and that manifestation came to realize that its infinite potentials of manifestation are invisibly there. Do you understand? Like, I have the potential right now to go and become anyone. In a sense, like, in the inner realms, I guess. They're like, Mr. Within, what forces have you faced? Imagine they're like, yo, You've been acting, you've been just, acting like you've been speaking. But what wars have you fought in this realm? In the outer realms, the war of a force like the civilizational engineering conditioning people to stay in civilization 1.0. It's like an army is about to siege humanity. Imagine like one kingdom is about to siege a kingdom, and there's people in the kingdom saying, guys, there is nothing outside of the walls of the kingdom. Do you know? Just be happy in your own box and think that that's what life was. You all have to assume you have no clue where you are, and what this is, and your whole life you're trying to reduce the percentage of this mystery. It's all about control. There's something weird in human psychology, okay? It doesn't just want information. It wants something to do with the information. People don't just want things just for the sake of it existing. It's for the sake of something experientially happening. Do you know? People, do you know what I mean? That means it's like you don't go you don't go get a wife just to be like, okay, I have a wife. Do you know what I mean? It's all about where this energy in this life, and we're here for, it's like energy is here for a certain time, and unknown potential energy is becoming known kinetic energy called the human, yo. Do you know? I'm like, they're distracting me. Let me tell you what kind of a like strange soul I am. Do you know? Due to me being very introverted and shy and just not liking myself when I was young, okay, I like for some time it was like this, where all I wanted was to be validated. I wanted my existence, my private existence, to be validated by an existence that wasn't me, because I didn't care for how I existed. I'm being honest with you. This is easy to say now. At the time, I'd run away from anything that would look at me, look at the intimacy, the vulnerability. Do you know? Because to me, it's as if, I don't know, vulnerability is important to access different realities, but at the same time, what are you gonna do? Like, when I was a young kid, I remember I got upset about something, and I went under my, like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, I would have this habit. Later on, I realized that it's called meditation. But I would go, and for like 30 minutes or something, anytime I was upset about something, or I didn't have will to express my inner realms, I would go and just hide under a blanket, and in weird like midday room light hitting, going through the blanket, it was like I would make the moment dimmer. Okay? I had a habit of just turning off the light and just being in the room, and it was like less information to process. It was just like, okay, I can just be here for a little bit. But I'm telling you, you are left in your incompetency until you realize you're choosing to stay in it. Anybody who's having, let's say, a bad relationship, what is the advice? Okay, if the relationship is bad, leave. Like, try to fix it. If it's impossible, universe, your inner realms are too, you can't co-create a common reality of emotion and feeling and honor together, then in some sense it's done, right? Anyways, the human, you're this energy, you're here for some time, you're exchanging your energy for experience, and there are different experiences, okay? I had a conversation with someone, and it was about money, okay? And this is a topic where, I feel like God is giving me lessons in it, but I remember, and I was asking them. Let me remember. I was saying that you shouldn't sacrifice a relationship you have with someone, okay, just to, in some sense, like if someone is, let's say you're in a good relationship, that is more valuable than anything that money can buy. Okay? If you have, this is the thing, this is why human beings are obsessed with communication. Okay? Because the connection of different souls in the same game. It's, you know what life is right now, Civilization 1.0? It's like you're all multi characters in an MMO, multiplayer online game, okay? And it's just that you're all doing your own quests, your own weird quests. And Mr. Within's like, guys, civilizational quests. Do you know, try to solve a civilizational problem. That's when you're advanced. Do you know? Why was Martin Luther King great? Because he came and solved a civilizational problem. He came and solved probably one of the most intense, savage rebellions that could have taken place in history. Do you understand? Because let me tell you, there is this. He chose God, and he chose the path of the intelligence that we have access to. Okay? He chose, in some sense, divine intellect rather than brute destruction. Do you know, brute retaliation, brute revenge? Do you know, there were people like that. Like I'm not that familiar with this literature, but I know that in African American history, that was the difference. Martin Luther King had a peaceful view. Malcolm X had a more like Che Guevara view. Do you know? But ultimately, we need to understand, folks, the values that your life has are already in the world. And we human beings position ourselves in conditions to access these values. This is why honesty doesn't belong to one culture. We can't be like, yo, man, only this culture, discovered honesty. No, it's a quality. What you understand as being a human is that you are the accumulation of experiences. Like, you know what scares me? Do you know what? Let me share some of my fears with you guys. Not some, just one. Okay? And it doesn't scare me. It's just strange. It's like, in a weird way, it scares me. It is this idea that right now, I'm this human being, and inside my skin, countless cells are moving. This is, to me, I don't know how to tell you. The way I was raised to think of myself as a portrait on a wall, this is mind shattering. Do you know? You're like, no way, the mind is made of glass. That sentence shattered my mind. It's like they're like, Mr. Within, what is the mind? And I look at Civilization 1.0 and I'm like, after I've shattered the mind, you'll see it's made of glass. You know, it's the glass house. You see beyond the mind. You're limited to the mind. Your body thinks it's possessed by the idea of you. No, the idea of you comes and goes. The cells in your body change. The only thing that proves the soul is the fact that you can notice between change. The awareness to change is not human. Okay? Doesn't make sense. If you are defined as a changing being, how can you notice change? In the same way, do you understand what I'm saying? It's like if you're limited to what is inside, if you're inside a box, how can you assume what is inside the box can explain the outside of the box. It can't, folks. Let me simplify this. And even if they give me a Nobel Prize or whatever, like whatever sort of prize they give, I'll be like, thanks, guys. But instead, in some sense, go advance civilization 1.0 into the realization that we have outgrown what we have thought we have been, and what we have thought we have been is thought, and you are not a thought. It is the biggest sham and deception, and in some sense, the human species does not deserve man-made simulations to limit it. That means I'm here dealing with an existential simulation in the middle of me sitting at my, the desk of my soul, trying to figure out, okay, what is existence? How is this whole thing simulated? In the middle of this, earlier human beings than me thought they were cool and smart and came and conditioned the system. That means I was like, man, it's like I'm drinking a glass of like tainted water. Do you understand? It's like they offered me a glass of tainted water and they're like, drink it. This is civilization 1.0. And I'm like, sorry, I have a bit of OCD. Not only do I have to go figure out what the glass is, wash the glass, okay? And in some sense, feel out all the different elevations and the weight it has in my hand. Do you know what I mean? And then think about what it can, like, do you understand? Every person has homework assignments they have not completed, which means past senses of self that did not complete. That means you lived up to the midpoint. Like, imagine an unfinished chess game. You just reached the middle game. You never reached the end game, I don't know if I remember correctly, but I think only when the queens go out of the picture, it's pushed into the end game, or maybe it's... But anyways. Civilization 1.0 is possessed because it was conditioned and trained to make the past more real. To make the present real by comparing it to the past. All these dudes in a tiny pocket of the observable universe being like, prove it to me, bro. I'm like, sit the F down, little one. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like you want me to prove you want me to prove the whole painting's meaning in one corner of the painting, and you think you're intelligent? You see, folks, everything has a time and place, as we've heard. It means the way human beings were being human had a time and place. The reason you're listening to someone named Mr.Within talking about advanced civilizations is because we're reaching the end of the cycle where everybody who was duped and in some sense delusioned, the collective delusion is breaking slowly, and we are realizing human beings don't have to be very resourceful nations to be happy. Do you understand? The idea should be that this is I'm sharing based on my glimpses of civilization 2.0, and let me tell you what I mean by this, guys. It doesn't matter if you're born 1,000 years before or you're born 1,000 years in the future. Whatever civilization you access to is termed civilization 1.0. It's the first instance of your access to a civilizational activity. You all are employed. Nobody is jobless on this planet. But the issue is you don't know what you're employed by. And you think it's an institution. You think it's even people. Do you know? All reality is like a joystick. Up, down, left, right. Okay? In the sense of you have one angle past to future, and then you have a parallel angle of high, low, right, wrong, whatever. And you can legit, I don't know how, I mean, I know how. I've been doing this for 12 years, but like the certainty, like when I give these talks, guys, it is not, it's not my person, it's not Amin Jaber Ansari giving the talks, okay? It is the role giving the talk. Not even, it's like, yo, man, are you channeling? No, it's the role. It's just something so important is happening right now, okay? And anybody can say this in any moment in history. Do you know what? Like, I was like, yo, how hilarious. There's always a percentage of civilization that feels the world is ending, but they don't understand that's a sin. It's a sin to let me tell you why it's a sin, because the unseen is in the jurisdiction of the system admin, and human beings falsely follow moderators. Let me tell you this, okay? If right now I'm speaking to you as a friend, like I'm saying it this way, if I was to casually explain to you, if you were like, all right, bro, you seem to have some insight in this realm, what kind of beings are we dealing with here on earth? Believe it or not, I could legit give a presentation on that, you know. But I would tell you that it's like this. They have trapped, just like you have like the lower classes in economy and the higher classes like the proletariat and the bourgeoisie, right? Which they are divided, okay? And this is kind of like an invisible blueprint. It's there in whatever, whenever, doesn't matter if it's past, future. It's a archaically reviving pattern, okay? And what it is that imagine there's a great wall in economy, okay, and the great wall of like Mr.Within's great wall of economics, you know, the invisible wall of economics. And there's this invisible wall where on one side, they like in economics, we have the concept of the invisible hand. Mr.Within's like adding something, so I'm saying like invisible wall. On one side of the wall, you're exchanging your time for money. On the other side of the wall, they're using money for time. Like, people are trying to be billionaires. The billionaires are trying to be immortal. I'm like, this is so funny, man. Like, this is like a cartoon. Do you know what I mean? It's like Tom and Jerry level of human civilization. That's civilization 1.0. Do you know? Like, Tom is trying to hit Jerry with a pan. Do you know when he moves the pan backwards, it hits the dog's head? The dog with the baseball bat hits Tom. Do you know? Do you know what I mean? Tom hits Jerry in the head. Like, this is modern civilization, folks. This is what we think is advanced. This is what everybody's identifying with. Let me tell you this. When right now, if I ask you, who are you living for? Are you living for you right now? Or are you living for your future self? Is there a future version of you that has to wake up tomorrow and function? So all of us we don't identify with the, see, this is the stupidity. They are defining civilization, giving meaning civilization based on the past, but all of us who want better lives in the future are identifying with our future selves. So behind your eyes, you're trying to identify with the future you, but in front of your eyes, every single form you see is given meaning and definition based on the past you. You know, there's a saying, these talks are like, what is it? Like, let me find that thing. There's this very famous quote by Muhammad Ali. He says, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Okay? I think that's closer and more healthier. Okay? Where think of it this way. Intensity or humans are beings. Okay, I'll give you, this is an incredible way I can explain it. You're walking, let's say, a coffee shop, and you see a bunch of human beings in the coffee shop. Okay? You go into a coffee shop, or let's say you're just a human and you go outside of your, the box you live in, and you and you see that there's other human beings. Now, we as members of the human species and as those of civilization 2.0, okay, need to understand that we civilization advancement is all about responsibility. Why is a 50-year-old man more advanced than a 5-year-old kid? The 5-year-old kid is aware of reality but not responsible for it. Or maybe the 5-year-old kid is not aware of a lot of reality, is just aware of a little bit of reality and just a little bit able of being responsible of just being an identity. Do you know? But that 50-year-old man has lived through so many senses of self that he cannot just be responsible for his identity, but he can be responsible for the identities of the environment. That means the greater you is your world. You've just been too scared. Excuse me, I'll be a bit rude here. All these idiots on earth who think they're alpha males, it's as if you are in a beta civilization. You all think you're alpha. I'll fuck that. Sorry, I shouldn't. I'm simply saying this, that all those human beings in civilization 1.0, that they think they're at the top of the hierarchy. I do not care if you are physically the most strongest people. If you're the most, in some sense, whatever class of possible human fathoming of a top of a hierarchy you can be of an entity. I do not care. I am just telling you that there is no point of feeling successful when the species is failing. It's failing what? Its potential. That means we're not failing. It's like, yeah, it doesn't matter. We may go extinct, and what? Like a billion years later again, and not this program reinitiates. You know? Existentially, there is no problem. There's nothing to freak out in existence about. It's just existence is existing. What an incredible purpose it fulfills. It is the unknown experiencer that has the opportunity to wonder why existence is here, to realize that we are living inside systems in systems. Simulations have invaded an original being. And that's the wrong way of saying it. An original being has commanded simulations to remember the original. What that means is your soul is the original return of everything into the first, I shouldn't even say first, into the only moment. Do you know what that means? That means it occurred to me the most fascinating. Like right now, they give an physical explanation of reality as the Big Bang Theory. But I had a different theory. I had a theory as if in some as if this whole time, yes, we are souls created by God, but if there is a higher being experiencing all of this in a higher way, then I am that when goosebumps become boring, you have began to notice the shoulders of giants running on. It's you, man. You're shoulder of another giant running, and that giant is on a shoulder of another giant running. All these running giants, and we are giants compared to like cells and ants. Like, who are we kidding? Your civilization is designed. That means if there is any giant, I am sure there are giants to it. It's consciousness. Consciousness is like this force that arrives in the presence of the moment, and immediately, like a wind, or I don't know how to say it, like a wave. Imagine like a general gave a command, but it wasn't through a voice. Through the core of its energy center, in some sense, a spherical wave went to the edges of manifestation. That means, do you know what the first thing I did, guys? When I noticed something more, I immediately sent a broadcast. Legit, as a soul in this world, the moment I realized, holy shit, they've confused everybody by making them think this unknown place is known, and they're living in these small words. worlds. It's like, man, I thought the Promised Neverland was just an anime. What the F? Humanity, in some sense, is blindsided by its own cultural design. So what does this mean? Anytime in my life I have reached anguish, that means people think depression is bad. Depression is easy. Depression is child's play. Existential anguish. Do you know? That means it's like you sit down and you're like, wait a minute, before I play this game of life, what is life saying to me? What is this? Do you know? And you begin to understand that you are a limited character in a limitless place. And people are like, man, I'm depressed. You should be scared. Do you know? But at the same time, you should also realize the moment fear is understood, it is converted into strength. That's what bravery is, a disguise of. The inner strength. That means moves me. Just think about it, guys. This is a cool way to say it. Think about it this way, that I am just a moment, yo. I'm a moment of being. They're like, what's your attribute? I'm like, buddy, I'm just a moment. I don't need an attribute. Do you know? And this moment of being, imagine in front of me right now, there are two worlds, right? There is one behind my eyes. I see it though in front of me, and in front of the whole moment. I don't know how to explain it to you. In front of the whole moment, which is technically inside the moment. I don't know enough about physics to explain to you how in the inner realms there's a curvature. I don't know how to explain it. There's something in how states of consciousness, they don't just, they're not straight. There's a curvature to intelligence, okay? I have had experiences so unique and unknown, like that they're not even spiritual. They're just like, whoa. Did I suddenly, like there was in 2014 to 15 when I had started the talks, I think it's 2015, I remember, 2015, okay? I was walking to go sit on this bench that I would always sit on in this place called Curzon Gateway at the time. Maybe you can go see it in Google Maps, like back in 2015, do you know? And you might probably see there on that bench giving a talk. I gave so many talks on that bench, you know? I was walking to this bench and an invisible 2D shadow entity ran a square around me as if I was inside an invisible cube. That was like one of those strange. And I'm very happy I shared this because I think I hadn't shared it before. You know, they chose the perfect, the perfect person, they chose a kind of hybridized, Persian, born in Iran, and raised in Canada, human. Do you know that means I have access to Eastern traditions and Western traditions? That was the blessing. The greatest gift my parents gave me when at the age of 7, they immigrated to Vancouver, my parents. The greatest gift they gave me was access to a universe of Western values. And I had Eastern values. And I just stood there and be like, okay, I'm not a stranger to this. When I was a kid, I would climb trees and play PlayStation, with my cousins till late night, That means I saw both worlds. I saw the playing outside realm, like I climbed trees, and I killed virtual enemies in my youth. Can you imagine? Everybody's like, yo, man, I was such a warrior. Can you imagine? I tell my kids, like, kids, you don't understand. Your father is like one of the most greatest warriors, Do you know and you don't know how many like takedowns as a Plat 2 Zerath player, do you know, I've had, do you know? And they're like, Zerath, Dad? They're like, okay, it's like being a warrior doesn't mean you just have to like fight physical entities. Do you know what I mean? Right now, humanity is so comfortable for entertainment. We go and kill a virtual, like cyberspace entities. Do you know? You see what's happened? The violence shifted into our inner realms and then shifted into our technology. Humanity is doing something. The species is so genius. The species is converting the savageness of the old world, and it's using itself to transport it into technology. Where right now we have no problem with violence in video games. Like nobody cares. Do you know what I mean? Like 100% in the 90s they didn't care. You know, and if today's culture went and saw those games, they'd be like, yo, kids were playing these? And I'd be like, yeah, because kids were not idiots then. Like, excuse me, kids knew that, okay, this representation of intensity is real, but the event that is happening is not. Do you know, it was more like sightseeing. You're like sightseeing your experiences of existence. I gotta, right now, they chose this Persian Canadian, introverted, shy, you know, in the outer realms, like in my personal life, super silly. Do you know? Like it's like my outer realms, I live so much more slower than I live in my inner realms. Do you know? Only way I found a way to control my desires is if I can't overpower them, I slow down the moment. I'm like, okay, if I'm making mistakes, I'm gonna start making mistakes in slow motion. At least I have more time to fathom, okay, why am I making this mistake? You know, but this doesn't mean I'm moving around slow motion, you know? It's just, folks, it is not easy to hear these talks because I am not sorry. I'm not disrespecting. I am trying to point out that the old adage, I guess, of the cost of your new life is your old life. I think if that's applicable on an individual human level, it is also applicable that if this whole species, which is living a life here, right? But we're unconscious, do you know? Unconsciously living as a species right now. And Mr. Within is saying, let us be living generations in history that started to with a sort of what not what am I doing throughout the day? What is my species doing throughout the day? And to become fascinated by the attendance of all of us. You know what's funny? To be a human being feels like you were invited, like all these unknown, let's say, beings or unknown souls, you know, they've all been invited to attend this like party. Okay, to me, honestly, like so many people say life is like a school. I'm like, guys, it's like a party. Let me explain. The metaphor fits. Okay, it's like we've all, the moment we wake up in the day, okay, we're all attending an event. It's like a party. And the party room is the whole world, okay? And we're attending here. And we thought that we're attending here to see something, to see a performance, like a concert, okay? Like, yo, man, I don't know when I bought the ticket, but I'm at the concert now. I'm at the lineup of the concert. And it's, let's say I've been born and I'm in this concert. Like, you know, I'm where everybody else is. I'm in this world room, okay? So all these, or let me give a better imagery to it. Imagine like a ballroom gathering, like, you know, traditional, let's say, I guess, European ballroom gatherings, right? where they were like, they had like, specific dances like the waltz and all that stuff. I'm trying to say, imagine an aristocrat like European party, back in the day, like that kind of vibe. Okay, but what I'm saying is that we're a bunch of unknown attendees, okay, and we're attending this event called life, all of us together in front of our eyes. Behind our eyes, we're also attending it differently in a personal way. But in front of our eyes, we're attending it physically together. That means my ideas might be different than other people, but I'm physically in the same, like, physical place as them. I'm in the same physical server. So all these souls have been invited to this gathering of manifestation. We have all gathered here, and here's the cool thing, right? We're waiting for the host. Okay? We're waiting for the host. And humanity is like invited to, like, I'll make it easier, like a house party, right? And the owner of the house is not there. We don't know who the owner is. Some people feel they know the owner's son. Do you know? But but in some sense, it's like it's the owners. Okay? It's like we're being hosted here. Okay? We have been invited into an existential condition, and we're a bunch of unknown people gathered around in the same event. Okay? And the notion of truth is, what's hosting this? Where's the host? Who is the host? But imagine the host is not there, and life is like a party of a bunch of, let's say everybody's a stranger, every bunch of people, bunch of beings have been invited to a party of manifestation. And it's like, we're like, okay, the host hasn't arrived. We need to start the party. Every person needs to be the life of their own party, right? They are their conscious life that's receiving the experience. So I'm saying, like, it's like I feel like I'm attending this unknown event with a bunch of other souls, unknown beings, okay? And we've all been like partying through the fashion of civilization. We've been partying civilizationally, as a species, And I'm standing here and I'm being like, okay, so it's kind of like this fascinating event where the attendees are the performers. Most people identify as an audience member in their life, but you're also the participant. You're not just the audience, you're also the actor on stage. And welcome to multiple, like, a world where you can look at things through countless viewpoints. For a person who cares about knowledge, like those souls that are like scholarly, they know who they are. That means they've gone on their own personal assignment of figuring things out. Those people become scholars. They pretty much start from scratch, and then, when they're questioned, they've climbed a mountain. They know the journey they've gone through to get here. Man, this is an intense talk. Like, I feel my heartbeat is beating faster than normal. But everything else is calm. I don't know why. It's like my heart is reacting to what out of the future is real. I guess we know the future from the heart, and we know the past from the mind. A very cool thing is that living from the heart is where religious people are all being led to. These are algorithms, folks. Algorithms of simulations returning to their original states. There is intelligence beyond human will here. When you look at human beings, just like, again, economical classes, there is, believe it or not, different classes of beings. And please do not get offended if you are, you're not looking at it correctly. Because I am saying that just like we all have a different DNA, there are different roles that our DNAs fit in this civilizational construct. If somebody says, Mr. Within, should I take civilization seriously? I'd be like, that's an incredible question. Because civilization is a simulation, is a man-made, man-forged, human-forged project. It's like taking society seriously. It's like taking human ideas that have evolved into systems of thought. Human perspectives that have evolved into, let's say, physical structure. Some people, when they look at a building, when a normal person looks at a building, okay, they see just the building. When a philosopher looks at a building, they see the architect. They see the representation of the building as an idea. The world is not limited in one fixed context. Anybody who has access to more than one, like you can navigate between different contexts to all the concepts you have. People think being smart means you got to go learn new concepts all the time. No, guys. You could be stranded on an island and still expand your knowledge. Okay, not just limited to the outer realms, just purely from the inner realms. You know, it's all about every concept you know was introduced to you in a specific context. If you specify a different context, that concept will have a different meaning. That means the people in the past might be like, yo, the future is impure. Do you know? People in the present might be like, yo, man, who has time for the future? Do you know? But the futurists realize you could ignore. Like, it doesn't matter where you sit on a train. The train is headed to a specific moment. For me, like, an attempt to understand myself before was like, okay, let's say I don't know myself. I am an unknown being. Let me see what is happening to this unknown being. And I'm like, okay, so every moment I'm conscious, I have access to existential form. I am existentially informed. Like, I'm in existential form, you know? What is greatness really in an unknown world? Ah. We're attending an event and we're waiting for our own performances. You're all waiting to see how the more advanced version of you would pat you on the head. Your own advanced self. Most people, you know, like in the inner realm, it's easy to see one's potential. In the inner realms, I've already given the 10,000 talks. But in the outer realms, it's like, this is the hilarious thing they don't speak about. I can imagine a flying car instantly. which means I can access a location where there is the visual of a flying car. Okay, but if I want a flying car in the outer realm, the cost, the time, the how you even go about doing that, and how you can even trust it. You're like, okay, what if the engine stops working? And they're like, why is there no like bad car reviews for this like flying car company? Ironically, the flying car company got sued into the ground. But we must constantly strategize and wonder about the better archetypal positioning of reality. You all buy new clothes, right? You all are fascinated by new ideas and new perspectives. We are an intelligence that is seeking expansion. We're not seeking survival. They brainwashed you to think only survival, do you know? I mean, of course, I'm saying it simplistically. I'm getting angry in a simplistic way, but I'm saying that like by the time that everybody thought they had to fit into a system and they were scared that they couldn't survive otherwise, they were already being conditioned. Your survival is not your survival, folks. It's where your attention is. Reality is where are you? Anyways, folks, I gotta say a few things about higher resolution souls in a lower resolution world. So, before I end this, what I saw when I wrote that sentence, higher resolution souls in lower resolution worlds, or in a lower resolution world, this is how that made sense to me. That in my inner realms, reality has way more freedom of change, and it's way lower energetic cost than me having to change the reality in front of my eyes. And it's a matter of choice, and also a matter of a choice of identity as well. You know, there's people right now in civilization being like, I identify as this, as like, man, woman, all of this. They're playing identity games. It's like they're worshiping their subjectivity. They're prioritizing they're worshiping their ego, pretty much. Okay, when you worship your ego, you're not basing, you're technically living without a reality, because that means you can change to anything. You're technically a shapeshifter. You're not anything. If a person has an ability to suddenly change into something else, okay, right, then they're not what they were, which means you are not anything. It's in some sense you're like, it's like your consciousness at that point, but I guess in a sense the classroom of existence has to be at least well kept for all the generations that will enter that classroom after, right? To me, I am legit confirming this. I see myself as the proof of it. Okay. From the moment I wake up, it's not just objects that are changing, or it's not just objects. It's not just I'm not just accessing objects here, okay? You know, and if any of you think you're accessing objects, if I tell you to remember what you ate yesterday, right, that's not an object, yo. So stop thinking you're just an object and get real if you really care about what reality is. They're like, what is physicalism, Mr. Within? What is matter? I'm like, it's denial. Materialists are in denial of how unknown it is. They are hiding in a cave of knowledge, thinking truth is limited to them. They're like, Okay, let me say it this way, guys. I'm envisioning, to me, Civilization 1.0, it's like I suddenly snapped out of it and I realized everybody is like, I guess the, modern cultural poetic term of zombie. Okay, everybody's like a zombie. Okay, what does that mean? That means they are a mindless movement. Now, how is this true when everybody has a mind? You are as mindless as what you consider the edge of your mind is. Okay? And your awareness is not a physical thing that can have an edge to it and then be a shape for us to treat everything as shape. Civilization 2.0, in all the years that I've spoken about it, it is the most advanced argument, and it is the potential, it is the destiny of human potential. They're like Terence McKenna carried the banner of psychedelic mushrooms. Alan Watts carried the banner of Zen enlightenment. The only banner I'm carrying is that everything is, the moment we're aware of anything is the moment where there is an advanced access. That means it, like the fact, like think of it this way. If you knew everything, there would be nothing to know. If you had done everything, there would be nothing to do. If you were everything, there would be nothing to be. Right? So the purpose of the human simulation is the unknown. The unknown gives us purpose. The fact that when you meet somebody, let's say you go on a date and you meet someone new and you have no clue like what kind of mind she has, right? It's as if like, I don't know how to tell you. The only thing keeping you excited is because there's a privacy policy to the inner realms of the species, a divine privacy policy, where we don't really know who we are. The point I was making earlier is, as a human being, you can go in a coffee shop, look at all these human beings, and imagine they're all like gentle. In the outer realms, they act kind and loving. They act nice and polite. They all act like we're advanced citizens. But in their inner realms, you do not know. That means human beings can unleash intensity obliviously. And it's weird. Back in the day, people were so impatient that when two people argued, you thought they had a conversation. They had swords in their hands and they're like, okay, either my reality exists or yours. You know what I mean? They would kill each other on sight without a conversation, without a dialogue. Right now, when two people, let's say, get into some sort of car conflict in the road, right? They step out of their cars. They don't start boxing. They don't put on boxing gloves and start boxing. Do you know what I mean? We have converted the savageness, like instead of like destroying each other in the outer realms, we now destroy each other's perspectives. No, I was right. Shut up. It's like, no, I was right. You shut up. Do you know what I mean? That savageness of war has gone into the savageness of identity now. Do you understand? And identities are deciding what happens in the realm to some degree for themselves. But it's not only their decision. That means, like, the reason I have a comfort in also, like, talking about deep stuff is because I acknowledge the presence of a higher power. It's just beyond me, and I know it's there. I'm legit like an politician giving a speech, and imagine there's a bunch of ants on the podium, like, or a politician giving a speech to a bunch of ants. Those ants are in the presence of the force of attention. That means I am not God. I am in God's attention. I am not the unknown. How do I say it? I am not like. I'm not just the known and the unknown. The unknown is happening in a way more advanced way than everything else we know. Man's knowledge is a step behind. And we know this why? Because the most advanced way is to create a human being. Do you know? Like, do you know what it is? I feel that epistemic entropy is like human beings forgetting nature. I am an unknown awareness on a bigger known form in the presence of a gigantic unknown. It's like I'm a noun. Okay, check this out. I'm saying your soul is like an unknown verb, but your life, the physical life you identify with is like the known noun, and this known noun is in a known noun world, okay? But in actuality, the greater life is verb, and it is like, if somebody tells me, Mr. Within, what is the most advanced thing that an ego can do? And to me, the most advanced thing that an ego can do is not to destroy itself or to let go of being, to let go of itself or to see beyond itself and then realize it's not just itself. The most advanced thing that an ego can do is to become part of a greater purpose. That's what all of you seek. That's what we all seek. We're a bunch of simulated beings that have these strange original memories, which technically translates as the notion of the soul, which is a divine command. Pretty much we're like effects, and we're realizing it doesn't matter in what ways we cause ourselves. There's a greater causal power. It's like greater energy, man. Like there's an energy that is maintaining like how I see reality, and then there's an energy that is all of reality. Like, who are we kidding? I could have taken a non-dualist route and be like, guys, Is it who's speaking to you? Is it a dude on earth, or is it the whole cosmos, the whole man existence happening? Like, am I the whole world speaking to you, which deep down you're the whole world too? Do you know what I mean? Is the whole world speaking through a self to another self, which is the whole world? Do you know what I mean? It's like there's something circular about meaning. In the same way, you look at a dictionary and the words in the dictionary are based on the other words, yo. I'm like, yo, what does this word mean? Oh, yeah, I gotta go figure out the definition of all these other words that define this word. So, other words define like a word, and it's like right now we're in this phase in history where other realities are kind of like defining our reality, but I'm making that claim. I'm saying like, yo, we are unknown, and if reality, like, think of it this way, there is a limit. We have like let's say 20% access. Let's say we have access to 10% of known reality, and the rest is like 90%. Let's say we have access to 20%, okay, of known reality, and we have like 80% of unknown reality, okay? So imagine you're right now attending and this moment, and this moment constitutes of like 20% known realities and 80% the rest of it unknown realities. The smartest people are fascinated by what they don't know. They don't integrate it into their identity. Like, why do you even need to do that? It's like, St. Francis of Assisi said, to be in the world but not of it, that's how you should treat knowledge. You know it, but you don't have to be it. Your being is far more unknown. And so my argument is, if 20% of reality is known, if 80% of reality is unknown, and I'm trying to live here, this means that if I only base my life's meaning on the 20%, base my life's meaning in the 20%, that means I have to make a choice. Do I want to live? Do I want to experience the 80%, or do I want to experience the 20%? And to me, I'm like, dude, I'd rather experience 80%. That means, like, imagine, I'll even say it this way, 10% of this world, everything that any human being knows, can fathom, both in the inner realms and outer realms, imagine is 10% of all reality. Only 10% of it is known. So I'm legit living a life that has 100% access, has 100% potential, but I'm only living in 10%. Civilization should not become a cave where, like, unnatural, natural beings are like, yo, what do I do? I can't fit in nature or civilize it. Natural for this unnatural system, and I'm too unnatural for the natural world. What do I do here? You know? We seek advancement. If right now somebody was like, hey man, in one door, there's two doors. One door, takes you into the most advanced known simulation of reality. Imagine one door was like, it's something you already know, but the most advanced version of it. Okay? Right? So it was like the most advanced. So there was a door, and it was like this world where it was very advanced, but it was only limited to what I know. And then they're like, yo man, in this other door, you may get access to a completely advanced and unknown. You don't even know if it's going to be advanced or not. But you get access to a completely unknown, new potential of reality. You would choose the new reality. That's it, man. These younger generations, thinking that a traditional conservative values have to come in, like a blacksmith, like traditional conservatives have to come in, like a blacksmith, straighten out, this, how do I say it, the younger generations that are identifying with more their emotions than analysis and information. Something weird happened in the development, in the evolution of the information age. Okay, people lost access to the natural information you had. That means for 12 years, by giving these talks, I haven't lived like a natural being. Do you understand? But the reason is because there is an unnatural, think of it this way. In order to protect nature from the unnatural, it's a sacrifice of being able to be unnatural too. So I will say it that I do find myself to be able to be to have experienced dehumanized states of consciousness, but the way I experience them is geometrically, which is safe. That means it's like safer than thinking you're an alien is to think that you're a geometrical being. I don't know who any of you are. I don't know what this place is. I don't know who the author of this story of this narrative we're all like characters in is, right? But I know its presence. I have felt its presence, and feeling presence is not an intellectual articulated analysis. It's like, yo, man, go and prove that you love your wife. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, how do you prove that? How do you prove love? It's only if it's there or not. You can try to love yourself. You can try to love others. You can try to love the world. But it's just like bravery. It is a force that flows through you rather than just being a verb assigned to a noun. I understand reality is intense. What all our brains are doing is like, all right, I have no clue where I am, but I gotta figure something out. But anyways, thank you, oh conscious universe, for listening. I am grateful that the system admin made life maybe a bit, scary or intense to the mind, but it is very exciting for the soul. And your soul is the other edge of your moment, meaning that you compartmentalize yourself, or you identify as your body and, let's say, an idea, a subjective self, and as an objective self. But these are just like maybe two elements in your whole moments system. So if you want to access reality, like if right now they're like, Mr. Within, how do I access 100% of the world? I'd be like, it can't be done as a known being, because the known being is limited to that 10 or 20% I was saying. That means we're not living in the actual world. The actual world is more unknown than known. to make like what is our effort here as a species? Are we trying to translate and make something this colossal make sense to something this small? And they're like, prove it to me. I'm like, man, this guy wants me to prove how the whole world is being an intelligent event, do you know, in the limited intelligent way that he understands. You see, nobody is free from, like, everybody has blind spots, okay? The whole point of religion makes it easy because it says the unseen is not the responsibility of your ego. The ego is not here to feel like an invisible king. That's misuse. That's misunderstanding that leads to misuse. You know, there's an ancient saying that they say the ego is a lousy master, but a great servant. And many people hear this, are like, yeah, man, why is the idea of me defining me like when I could have so many different ideas? Why is only one viewpoint being where my soul is lingering? And why not like a bird on a branch? Have I not realized this whole time? Like, did I really have to listen to a Mr. Within lecture to realize? Do you know that the bird could fly from the branch of knowledge and witness the whole forest at once? And sometimes you gotta be unknown to truly know things. Do not fear the unknown. This is misinterpretations of civilization 1.0. Do you know what that means? That means even if there were like evil cultural engineers, I'd be like, all right, man, like they tried. They tried to control a natural process. But the nature was too much. Do you know what I mean? Like even trees like destroy cement. Like tree roots like are like, get out of here, cement. They like just destroy streets. You know what I mean? That's the power of nature. We can put as much cement on our moment, but the trees will be like, get out of here. Trees like titans are breaking through the cement. Like, to me, plants are the real titans. And we have chained them to freaking, vases and pottery cups. Can you imagine, like, I think if I went and bought a bonsai tree, or if I went and bought a flower, I think I'd go and buy a white rose. I think there's something noble about a white rose. I don't know why. I think I just realized what my favorite flower is. And it's not the processed one you get in stores. I'm joking. It's like the baker, at the end of days, he's like, finally, the last flower has arrived. We're finally at the last flower. And they're like, this baker is freaking saying jokes at the apocalypse, at the end of times. It's cracking jokes at the end of the apocalypse. Guys, honestly, it is a species that is exchanging its future potential for the sake of comfortably looping in its past. Familiar pattern. You are blessed if, just like how the Buddhists were like, yo man, stop being such a POS and go sit down and become so enlightened that you have discovered your presence in the Pure Lands. Mr. Within is saying, all right, guys, just for a second, wonder about what the most advanced version of all of us and all of this deserves, and then, find your presence in advanced land. Walk in the advanced, inner abodes of mankind. How do the present convince you the past is all there is, when the future is obviously where everything's going? Like, you know what I mean? People are like, Mr. Take time too seriously. It's like, what am I, a photon? Like you know what I mean? Anyways, folks, thank you for listening. I'm gonna end the talk here. The whole point of it was, to me, the soul is like, let's say, a fourth dimensional technology. Mind is a three-dimensional tech. Let's say the okay, let's say body, mind, soul. Okay, body 2-dimensional, mind 3-dimensional, soul 4-dimensional, whatever. I'm just trying to tell you that at some point you will discover that beyond the idea of you, many archetypal positions can be present. This is really, I think, deep down, I don't know, my intuition tells me that, like, Carl Jung, the reason he introduced the species to the notion of the collective unconscious was because, just like how the Buddhists would say thoughts are like, clouds that come and go, through my sky or something, through a clear, our clouds passing through a clear sky, like that's like Tibetan Buddhist imagery. In the same way, every day that I wake up, I'm like, okay, notice the presence of the clear sky, and then, you're at least living in a humorous, messed up world. Civilization 1, I am telling you, was created by very advanced, earlier, ahead of their time souls. That means, like, think of it this way. In the future, they become such experts in time travel that they don't leave a trace. Imagine there's time travel right now, okay? But their time travel technology is so advanced that they are technically like, we can never see them. And it's as if we're like, yo, man, is this nature changing things, or could it be other agencies? Or there's various ways. In the same way, one can mythologize, I'm just saying that before they called it mind back in the day, they would call it spirit. They saw the spirit as the shadow of the soul. In modern times, we see the mind as the shadow of consciousness. Okay? Do you know? And what it means is consciousness presents mind. And that is the hard problem. It's ultimately perhaps a release point, where if we identify with the world is dual, so I guess we are dual, but if we identify with the awareness to duality, which is a more advanced state, duality is in some sense like, how do I say it? It's like space and form are dancing, and in the middle of this, beings are generated and they freak out. The unseen is truly in the jurisdiction of the system. I don't care how many people think they're spiritual. You got to understand there's mods. Mods are not visible to humans, but they are still created beings, and they are beings that are capable of having authorities over sectors. So we human beings think we're just emotions. No, our emotions are rooms that higher beings reside in. The higher planes are in there. This is more of a Vedic angle, based on a Vedic perspective, yogic Vedic perspective, because they saw deities as all the different ways force could move. Okay, and so they saw that when, for example, I don't know how I remember, it's like, I think it was in the Puranas or something, it's like when a person gambles, specifically, this was written in some like ancient text that was written on leaves, right? And when a person gambles or becomes jealous or suddenly becomes greedy, it's legit. That's when it's like Kali, the deity Kali, manifests in that energy. Do you understand? Like, people think they're just humans getting angry. These are mods fighting through each other. Do you understand? But at the same time, the mods that are God conscious, system admin conscious, are protected in ways that mods that don't care for the system admin don't realize. For me, know what Shaitan represents? Shaitan represents a being that doesn't want to exist anymore. Shaitan's problem, this might be one of the most next level things ever said, but the archetype of the, let's say, I guess in Christianity, the fallen angel, but in Islam, Shaitan is not an angel. It's a pious jinn. Okay, it's a jinn that was very close to the system admin, but it's like a being that has decided it doesn't want to exist, and it has concluded the way it cannot exist is by going against its source, by negating what caused it. To me, that's where Optimus Prime is going to go kill its creators. I was like, yo, this is a kid's movie? This is legit. At the end of it, they turned Optimus Prime into the archetype of Shaitan. Do you understand? They turned it into the archetype of the devil. Optimus Prime was a devil. The devil resists its cause, resists the authority of how it was made. It's like you have effects that are rejecting their cause, and you have effects that are not rejecting their cause. From the religious narrative, these effects that are not rejecting their cause, they are closer to the original reality from the religious perspective. You know, from the other perspective, those beings that are fighting their source are fighting themselves. That means the system admin was so ingenious and divinely, it is such divine genius that if you hate God, it's like you're hating your causal state. You're hating yourself. You're hating everything. Like, it is honestly, I am actually astonished. I've never been shocked by geometry at this point, but it is too ingenious. That means Shaitan is the archetype of a caused effect, an effect that didn't cause itself, causing itself to go against its cause. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Do you know? It's like the simulated has to make a choice here. And I think this is the test. That do you reject your origin? If that origin was beyond anything that has originated now? To reject God is to reject the idea of an intelligent cause. These dudes that are convincing these people, these Civilization 1.0 zombies that are convincing all these beings that you're just your objective reality. You're not just that. The atheist that goes to the theist and says, yo, man, you're believing in a fictional God. The atheist has to be like, buddy, who is being an atheist is a fictional self. We're not just what is real. If reality is defined based on form, then we can all be in the same reality. If it is not based on form, welcome to the unknown. Anyways, thank you for listening. So guys, I had gone through, like a couple days ago, I had kind of disconnected from everybody, but then I understood that anyways, the Discord, there was a Discord event yesterday. There were 4 people there. If people would like to attend and you like to step out of Civilization 1.0 for a little bit, you know, at 8:45 p.m. on Eastern Standard Time on Discord. Yeah, just go to Discord, you'll figure it out. Anyways, folks, thank you for listening. If what is experiencing existence is more higher resolution than what is existing, and what is existing is more lower resolution, if experience is a higher resolution intelligence or technology, not technology, but high resolution experience, like experience of reality, visual experience of reality, then existence, which is just like it's just form. Like to me, existence is like the letters of the alphabet, and every mind is writing their own story, pretty much. The form doesn't have the meaning. We give meaning. Like if you like, there's people who listen to my talks, and they may not assign meaning. Okay, do you know that means like I can understand that there would be those. See, it's all about vision. For me, if they're like, yo man, who would you go listen to talk? I would be like any person, I don't care, that is talking about the the furthest reaches of the awareness of the human species, which means what is the I guess temporarily assumed edge of the world. To me, experience is living a different life than existence. Because I am aware of both, my soul is not limited to just an existential class of an entity or an experiential class of entity. And this is where we realize, just like there's a conditional love that's only there if the conditions are met, or there's unconditional love that is always there. In the same way, you will discover that it applies for conditional energy and unconditional energy. And in some sense, at some point, you ask yourself, do I want to conditionally advance, or do I want to be the presence of unconditional advancement? And the only way that can happen is it needs a higher agency than the intellecty that the the I'll say this. Um, Anybody who thinks that human meaning, human civilization, even human advanced civilizations are the only realities, it is not. You're seeing first a human being is born, a human is responsible for themselves, they become responsible for their self's environment. Then they become responsible for others, and they become responsible for the environment of others. And then they realize it's like after we have united the species, we unite Earth kind. That means if right now, imagine we all built an advanced civilization and everybody was advanced, they're like Mr. Within, what would you do? I would be like, I would have to then go and try to find a strategy to awaken all this other species. That means I want to build an advanced civilization, and I need as many, how do I say it? Because let me tell you what it is. I know that God, the system admin, has positioned the user here with system admin privileges. The system admin privilege is the ability to activate the advanced potential of what we are. Behind our eyes, reality has gone forth. I have lived ahead of my life behind my eyes. All of you do, but you only live maybe like to the max 100 years. You fathom the future. You don't fathom. You don't care about the immortal legacy of mankind, the eternal legacy of mankind. Right now you all identify as with your, let's say, yourself, with your family, let's say with your friends, with your community, I don't know, with buildings, with groups, and then it's like, yo man, we have cults, and all the cults are smaller than the cult of culture. In the same way, it's all about just when individuals unite, Okay? They are like a bunch of energy in one moment, and eventually an organizational pattern is required. Institutions, to me, okay, to me, I don't like the guru vibe. I don't like the teacher-student vibe. I hate it, actually. I think it's stupidity. I think one of the most stupidest things we've done on this earth is that have convinced people that they are students and they are teachers. No, you are all explorers of the human species. In the same way, I can simply say, like it feels normal to say we're 8.1 billion humans on Earth, having a collective experience. I can tell you in the same way, there is a collective being experiencing a collective intelligence to the species, experiencing itself through 8.1 individual bodies. See, we've given the minds to the bodies, right? And then the world has become mindless. Okay, but if you give the mind to the world, you discover you're not a body. You're present in an intelligence. It's a verb. The world is an intelligent verb, and they're proving it's not by just like taping a picture of a known noun on your face. And they're like, all right, man, we're gonna put this known noun of a box on your head, okay? And then you're gonna, in some sense, feel you're smart. Like how cruel do you have to be to put a box on someone's head and then pat them on the back as if like, yo, man, you're such a great person? To me, I'm like, yo, some like you think culture can box my species? Like the human species has one quality, you know when it gets uncomfortable, it leaves. And in a sort of hilarious way, when the species gets uncomfortable of like getting itself close to destroying itself with nukes, like I'm sure, like let's say even if World War III happens, right, there's gonna be these dudes and they're gonna be like, yo, man, I can press this nuclear button and start a nuclear war and have everything go extinct, but it's gonna make it pointless, right? It's like suddenly philosophy is dawning, is gracing the mind of world leaders who have been fighting in a sort of low resolution, demented way, imperialist way. The empires have just been masked with freedom. They're still empires. Every nation goes to their people and they're like, guys, we love you. You guys we care for you. And then, but we don't care for any other nation. It's like, dude, my grandparents or my cousins and relatives are living in that nation. They're like, sorry, man, when you're in this chunk of the land, this chunk of the land itself is more important than any other chunk of land. And I'm like, what the F kind of delusional nonsense is this when it's one species on Earth? And I'm like, what Newbury is politics? They're like, why don't you get into politics, Mr. Within? Because it's new. It's like you're asking me to go and play a game with people who don't know how to play the game. Politics, I am telling you, there is no true politician alive. It's not just ethical and kind-hearted based, okay? Because the political game has devalued. That means politics used to be kings. Do you understand? Conversing. Imagine the kings of three kingdoms met at a bar. Or their armies, each behind their back, they met and they were talking in some sense. Do you know what I mean? It was conversation of not the destruction of each other's empires, the advancement of all empires. But greed usually destroys it. That means there's a force that always wants to press the nuclear button to start nuclear war, and there's a force that never wants to, just doesn't want to even get close to it. There's a part of our species that knows how cool the future is, and if war is going to deny the future, like that's so stupid. All nations should have this mentality that if they help each other, they may create citizens. We are living in a transnational time. Transnationalism means the relationship of nations beyond borders. Okay, but it's not pointing to supranationalism, where the whole species identifies as the nation of humanity. This is more of like my work in my science fiction. It's like, yo, Mr. Within writes science fiction. No way, man. What do you write about? It's like 10 years in the future. No. My first sci-fi book was set in the year 5025. An era where there were the traditionalists, beings that still believed they were temporary, that wanted to experience the temporary life, and beings that knew they were eternal. The futurists are eternal, the traditionalists are beings who still live life through rhythms. Like it's a rhythm. It's like, yo, man, you're telling me there's sine waves. There's not sine, there's waves. And so, like, is it that far-fetched to look at everything and be like, guys, in the same way the ocean is just being honest. The ocean, like, you know how the tides have their own rhythm? Believe it or not, existence has a rhythm. We're just so disconnected and unnatural that we don't live in that rhythm. Did you know that in ancient times, people spoke in verse? Do you know what that means? There's examples of it in modern times, like Muhammad Ali. He was one of those souls that I wouldn't be surprised. That guy would be one of the most self-aware beings on the planet. Okay? Anyways. Thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent and the most merciful and the most advanced. And in honor of the original power where all these simulations are in the presence of. What is an advanced civilization? God is a great being. God does not create not great things. All the not great is from the human side of the coin's perspective. We are in the presence of a supreme, original, higher power. And to me, the most advanced are those who have not noticed their life. They have noticed the life beyond the world. The life of where is the world living? What world is the whole world living in? And that's the original unconditional moment. It's pretty much the return. It's the cause. The effect is still in the cause. It's just the effect is forgotten the cause. It's being tested to see if it in some sense notices its origin. Adam and Eve forgot the original authority. They listened to a simulated serpent, right? They listened to a simulated wave, right? And then we are cast into this simulated waving realm. It's like good, bad, right, wrong. In the Holy Quran, it says after hardship comes ease. This is why faith is an ultimate intellectual stance, because you're like, my intellect is just going through peaks and troughs. So faith allows me to have an identity beyond that condition, but that's unconditional faith. Most people have conditional faith. Do this and then God likes you. Do this and then you are a good person. Do this and then you go to heaven. And how dare us as beings who do not have jurisdiction over the unseen, in some sense use the unseen to in some sense manipulate the seen. For me, I realized something very early on. These enlightened gurus were giving answers, and something about that felt off to me. The answers were incredible, but something felt off. Okay? It took me a while to realize answers close systems. Questions open them. You are as advanced as your most advanced question. Okay, not your most advanced answer, because you do not have the most advanced answer. It's like, yo, man, I can't access, like, I don't have the answer to truth, but I can ask the greatest, like, I can ask a question about truth, yo. That's where we suddenly are like, we come alive, right? Because answers close systems, right? But of course, I mean, this is not absolute. This is just a mode where I find it to be valid. Anyways, folks, I'm gonna end this talk. Thank you for listening. And rise, mankind, rise in the presence of the one and only moment. All these beings are freaking out in the presence of one energy, okay? But that energy is still conditionally created. What that means is truth is the command of an unknown power. Now go define it as much as you want, you know? go and mask the unknown in your own way you want. The advanced humanity, pretty much, I'm like, where the activation, actualization of the most advanced potential of our species and whatever our beings as beings are, is in the future. In other words, it's not that your future is great. It's also that great. No, it's actually your greatness is waiting for you. All of you, your most advanced self, your most advanced world is waiting for you. Because the you based on the past, which leads to the civilization 1.0 zombie mob, right? Mentality, right? It's you. Give yourself an opportunity to honestly, simply be like, what am I here? Do I have to constantly be the reinforcement of a subjective stance? Or are we in the presence of a power greater than the conditions that allow us to interpret it? Anyways, thank you. Have a great day, guys.